Hey Reefers, welcome back to another video from Reef Drama. Today we're going to go through why do our protein skimmers overflow? Age-old question, but let's see if we can get into it in this video right now. So why do our protein skimmers overflow? Well, as annoying as it is, we need to find out what's happening. So in this video we're going to go through those problems and how to fix them. In the saltwater world, obviously protein skimmers are the fantastic pieces of equipment and they will do a great job at filtering out the waste in our water column, so long as it's set up correctly. So, directly exporting waste out of the water column, they work by mixing air and water to create thousands of microbubbles inside the skimmer body. Microbubbles that have a surface area that will attach to your dissolved organic waste, or DOCs, you may have heard that, in the salt water. So foam is produced, it's pushed up the body of the skimmer and out of the water into your collection cup. Now a good protein skimmer will produce a dark, foul smelling waste called skimmate. It's disgusting, not very nice. Ugh. Anyway, removing that skimmate helps reduce nitrate and phosphate build up in the tank. So as this process is happening, it can send too much foam or too much water or a combination of both into your collection cup, leading to that overflow. So when that overflow happens, it can also just be skimmate that's coming up the collection cup and going out and then going all over into the sump, and that's what makes the real mess. Skimming is usually a slower process and of waste rising up into your collection cup. On my Red Sea Reefer 425XL, I've got a bubble Magnus Curve 7. Normally I have to empty that cup around about 3 to 5 days. And you might have seen a previous video that I've done where I've gone through aquarium maintenance, and that was the very first video in that series, was a 3 to 5 day maintenance. Anyway, aside from that, how do we stop and prevent our skimmer from overflowing? Well, some of the main sort of culprits are when you add any red slime removers, if you add new or even unrinsed filter socks, the clarifiers, you know, the little sachet that comes in the bag of live sand, certain foods, be it dry or even frozen, bacterial supplements, and also dechlorinators. There are many different compounds used in various chemicals and additives and food that can lead to your skimmer overflowing. The compounds that are added to an aquarium can change that surface tension of the water, leading to micro bubbles, clear skimmate, and then of course the eventual overflowing of the skimmer cup. So first, as I mentioned before, we need to identify the root cause and then fix it. Now, these will include chemical reactions in the water, water levels, either in the sump or water levels actually in the skimmer itself. A brand new skimmer might need breaking in, and then of course the air intake might also be clogged up. So the first one we're going to look at is the brand new skimmer. So when you get your brand new skimmer and you get it out the box, as part of the manufacturing process of the skimmer, there's chemicals and oils that are often used for the mould of the pieces or the parts. And that residue can often stay on the equipment as it reaches you, and you're all excited when you're unwrapping it and getting it out of the box. Now, it's not normally an issue if you put it straight into the tank, but you will have to break it in. It will obviously cause the skimmer to overflow, and remember, it's the skimmer's job to remove any unwanted things from the water column, so it's only doing what it's supposed to do in the first place. It may just be easier just to let it overflow, whether you know that's going straight back into the sump or if you want it to overflow into a separate container. It's probably best to start with just letting it overflow into the sump until it can sort of bed in. When you start to break in your new skimmer, you will obviously also need to follow the manufacturer's directions, and you'll also have to dial the skimmer in by using very small micro adjustments over time until you can get your skimmer skimming efficiently and obviously getting that skimmate, which is what you want to get out of the tank. So next up, overflowing due to a chemical reaction. So anytime anything's added to the water, the composition of the water changes, a change in the composition, that's what's going to cause the skimmer to then overflow. And it works to remove the additive to the tank. Just about anything added to the water or aquarium can cause overflow issues. Also, you've got, as I mentioned before, new or unrinsed filter socks. So always thoroughly rinse through your filter socks whenever you change them out, and especially if you get brand new ones. And what's even better would be to get rid of the filter socks, throw them in the bin, and get in a cup, a filter cup, and in the filter cup you're going to put in your filter floss. That's much better. You can take the filter floss out every couple of days, throw it away, put a new piece in. That's the way I roll. Much better. Or of course you can go to the Clarity kind of route if you wanted to go down that route as well. Feeding, so feeding some foods that have high dissolved protein in them, especially if you're doing high doses or heavy feeding, that's going to cause the skimmer to overflow. And as I mentioned before, also include some frozen foods. Chemical dosing, using any treatment, medication, buffers, any supplements will usually cause the skimmer to overflow. Make sure you remember to check the manufacturer's recommendations if it's required to turn the skimmer off. There's no point running the skimmer when you're adding these additives or treatments or whatever it is, because the skimmer's just going to be taking them straight out of the tank. So make sure you read the instructions as to whether the skimmer needs to be turned off or not, and obviously that will then allow the supplement to start working. Another product that causes overflowing to remember, especially when you're fixing your rock and maybe putting frag plugs in and whatever else, is the epoxy putty. So sometimes that can also cause the skimmer to overflow. Oh, and also as well, freshly mixed salt water. Now, I bet you weren't expecting that one, so that's a bit of a surprise. But yes, even freshly mixed batch of salt water can cause your skimmer to overflow. So, protein skimmer overflows due to the water level in the skimmer body as well. And as I mentioned before, we need to make sort of adjustments to make sure that our water level is correct. So most protein skimmers will have a function on them that will allow that water level inside the skimmer to be adjusted. On my skimmer, I've got an adjustment dial, and I can adjust that, and it will raise the water up and down in the actual main body of the skimmer itself. Now, if the water level is set too high on a skimmer and something happens, like the sump water level changes or you have a chemical reaction, then again you've got your skimmer overflowing. So how do we fix that overflow caused by the water level? Well, you have to make your little adjustments. So make sure that the inner water level is appropriate to the height of the skimmer. Usually a good rule of thumb is to set the bubble line to the collar of the skimmer where the collection cup and the skimmer meets itself. That sort of little bit, you've got your skimmer cup up here, then you've got the little kind of bit here, like the little neck, I suppose, and then you've got the main part of the skimmer body under that. So if you try and get your bubble line to that point there, then that's usually a good rule of thumb. If you do want to run a wet skim, which is when you are sort of opening it up and you're letting more water go up higher towards the collection cup, and it is actually bringing out more water than it is foam, that's usually considered as a wet skim, but any slight change of water could go easily from a wet skim into an overflow situation. Different skimmers will have different recommendations on where to set that bubble line, so again, make sure you check that in the instruction manual. And then of course we come on to the water level that's actually in your sump. So protein skimmers can be pretty sensitive to water levels. The water level in the sump is sometimes the main root cause of your skimmer overflowing. Normally what we would say is a good recommended kind of height is between 7 to 9 inches of the skimmer sitting into the body of water. So it's about 7 to 9 inches. I think mine sits happy at around about 8 inches. Exceeding that range can cause the overflow issues. And most sumps are designed to maintain a certain water level consistently, and some sumps will have adjustable baffles, so you can kind of raise up or lower down the baffle to make sure that the body of water that your skimmer is sat in stays consistent all the time. And of course adding an auto top up to the mix will help your water level stay consistent. So we're just talking there obviously about your skimmer sitting in a certain amount of water. Now, what we can do is we can buy things, we can make things to actually raise up the level of the skimmer. So that's going to come up. I'm going to go through that in a moment of exactly what I've done in the past, and I'll run through that, and also what I've just recently bought as well. But before we get into that, before I show you those different options for you, it's as always, if you've enjoyed the video, then please give us a thumbs up. But also as well on this particular one, if you can put any comments in the comment section below, that would be great, about any other ways or causes that a skimmer can overflow. I always do like to read through those messages, and also I do respond to them personally as well. Okay, so what things can we use then? Well, in the past I've used something like this, which is just basically egg crate. A sheet of egg crate that I've then cut and manufactured with little wire ties. But this will sit in the bottom, whatever depth it is that you require, and then the skimmer body will actually sit onto this. What I've also used just recently actually is just a basic container. I've just cut the ends out a little bit here so that you can still get some water flowing through it, and obviously it doesn't build up, you know, with any air or anything underneath here, and that will just sit in the bottom, and again the skimmer will actually sit onto this. There are multiple things that I'm sure you can come up with that you can use to raise your skimmer in your sump. Now, my latest one, which I've just recently bought, and I've got this from Reef Print. This is my new skimmer stand, so it's a nice orange colour. This will go with my Reef Print nanotech bio balls little stacky holder thing that I've got. So they're both from the same company, same colour, and this is now going to be my new skimmer stand. Now they do it in different sizes, so and obviously multiple different companies out there will do the same sort of thing, so you can get them in different sizes, and you can also get adjustable ones, so that you can raise it up and down depending on exactly where you need it. But this is great. It's nice solid structure, and this will sit in the bottom of my sump, and it will give me just the right amount that I need to get that skimmer up to that sort of 8-inch in the water body there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down and we're going to get this in the sump, and then you'll see it actually underneath the skimmer itself. So let's go and do that now. Alright then guys, so as you can see we are back downstairs in front of the tank, and down below here we've got the skimmer now sat on that nice skimmer stand from Reef Print. So I'm going to bring you guys in and let you have a quick look. Alright then, so there we go. That is now the skimmer sat on that stand next to the other one, which has got the nano biotech balls on. But as you can see, all the same colour, and it sits lovely on there, perfect size. I've not got the skimmer on at the moment, but we can get it started. Turn on skimmer.
Okay.
Now we've got to go through the the startup. I forgot about that. So that will kick in shortly, because obviously I've got it on that sensor. So there we go. I'm pretty happy with that. That looks pretty good in there. Now I mentioned that sensor a moment ago. That's actually the H2 Ocean Skimmer Guardian sensor that I've actually got connected to the sump for the skimmer itself. And if you're not exactly sure what I've done there, then you can go and see the video right here or right here. One of those. I'll see you next week. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.
Easy go.